big news for BYU, basketball on Tuesday night as they get a huge win over Iowa State. 87-72 is the final inside the Marriott Center. BYU, most importantly, now has a 2-game win streak after their road win at UCF on Saturday. They followed up Tuesday night with a just dominant showing over Iowa State. The Cougars now 2-2 in Big 12 play, back to 500, back in the thick of things, because the Big 12, folks, this is going to be an absolute bloodbath of a conference all season long. We're 4 games into this for the conference, and I don't think anybody has any idea of how it's going to turn out after the final 14 games, the 18 games in total for any of these teams. But the nice part is BYU punched out an opponent. I don't know, maybe it's the wrong term there, but it was really, really impressive stuff for BYU as they handle Iowa State. Now, Iowa State came into this game with one of the more stingy defenses, a trapping defense that's supposed to make life miserable for a program like BYU. And in the first half, they had their moments where they did make things miserable for BYU. But in the second half, BYU essentially bit back with their own defense, really clamping down on Iowa State. And by the way, Iowa State's free throw shooting was atrocious. 16 of 25, 64%, 4 of 14 from 3 for them. They're just not an outside shooting team at all. 29% overall and 44% from the field overall in this game. Really, really impressed with BYU's effort in this game. Kahil Fennell, many of you might know his name, some of you may not. He's one of BYU's assistant coaches on this staff, and he's in essence the defensive coordinator for BYU this year. He's calling out these defenses. You'll see BYU more from a 1-3-1 zone to a man defense to a 2-3 zone. Seemingly every 3 possessions, they'll just morph 3 or 4 times, and it really frustrates opponents, and it really, really did a number on Iowa State in this game. The most important note of this is it's the first ever win for Brigham Young University over Iowa State in either men's basketball or football. Many of you might recall BYU lost to Iowa State in football in the gridiron this past fall. They had never won in football over the Cyclones, and in 6 attempts in basketball had never beat ISU either. So it's a big win, a historic win for the BYU basketball program to get this victory. Really, really impressed with how BYU performed in this one once again. Great to see Spencer Johnson just really build on a fantastic start to this game. I think BYU learned their lesson from the Cincinnati game. Remember, Trevin Knell had 27 points, and they sat him inexplicably for 6 of the final 10 minutes, and BYU saw that lead fritter away in that frustrating loss to the Bearcats. Well, BYU is not about to let Spencer Johnson's 19-point first half go by the wayside. He ends up with a career-high 28 points in this game, leading all scorers in the matchup, and a really, really fantastic performance from him. The other guy I would want to point to most notably is Noah Waterman. This was a guy who essentially was MIA in Big 12 play through 3 games. Can you remember seeing number 0 do much of anything positive for BYU on the court? Well, he bounced back in a big way tonight as well, or I guess last night, I should say, with 18 points, 4 of 12 from the field, 3 of 8 from 3, 7 of 8, more importantly, from the free throw line, as BYU ended up shooting 24 free throws. That's a marked increase over what the season average had been for BYU. They shot 20 of 24 from the free throw line. Very impressive number as well. After Saturday, they saw our lead fritter away because they seemingly couldn't make a free throw on the road against UCF. So really, really liked how BYU performed as a team in this game. As I said, there's individual stars in Spencer Johnson and Noah Waterman. You also had Dallin Hall with 11 points, 8 assists. A lot of people were bagging on him, have been bagging on him for a few weeks now. He bounced back in a big way with a really, really phenomenal performance. He was perfect from the field, 4 of 4 overall, 3 of 3, more importantly, from 3. Ali Khalifa, when you only have 2 points from your star big man in a game, you'd be worried about this, but he has 9 rebounds and also 4 assists in this game. But BYU didn't necessarily need to rely on him as much because Dallin Hall was in control of this offense, really directing things, being the floor general that BYU needs him to be. So I really, really liked what I saw from the Cougars in this game. I keep saying that, but it was really, really nice to see BYU bounce back and have essentially what I would consider to be their best performance of the season to date, considering the circumstance, considering the opponent, and also considering the run that BYU is going to go on in the next 3 games. BYU is going to play a run of 3 nationally ranked opponents, starting with the game against Iowa State. They'll play Texas Tech and then Houston. The last time BYU played 3 ranked opponents in succession, 1981, when BYU and Danny Ainge made that magical run to the Elite 8 in the NCAA tournament. It's been that long since BYU has played this elite of opposition, and it's going to test BYU's severely, because obviously, as you might recall, Fousseyni Traoré was out with a hamstring injury. There was a recurrence of the injury he suffered and kept him out for the entire month of December. That happened against UCF, and also Trevin Knell was sidelined in this game with a foot injury he suffered against UCF. According to the broadcast, they're hopeful that Trevin Knell is going to be a short-term injury, similar to what Fousseyni Traoré is dealing with. But here's the thing. I've learned with foot injuries in basketball players, err on the side of being very, very cautious with those, because considering you're running up and down on hardwood, it's a very, very concerning thing to have a foot injury, but hopefully we'll see them back on the court in short order. But yet again, just a marvelous performance from BYU. A couple of your guys' comments here on the game include Daniel Haslam saying this: Big 12 basketball is fun. It is fun, folks. Imagine what BYU be going through when it comes to the West Coast Conference versus what they're experiencing right now. The West Coast Conference had its moments, obviously, going up against Gonzaga and St. Mary's. But this, in the Big 12, every single game, all 18 of these games are going to have stakes on them that are higher and more important than anything. I'm sincere about this. Anything that the West Coast Conference could have offered to BYU. It is a fun basketball league. Is it going to beat the crap out of you? Yeah, it absolutely is if you're a BYU basketball player, but I really, really like what I saw from BYU. Jordan Royal says this: love the aggression to the basket. I hope getting to the free throw line becomes a thing. 20 points from the free throw line was a huge impact in this game, and yes, it was. BYU was sharing the ball all over the court, moving it inside and outside, and that's the nice part, is they took it to the rim more often tonight and were rewarded with those 24 free throw attempts, and as I mentioned, they made 20 of 24, 83.3%. You'll accept that. Obviously, you'd like to see 100%, but in college basketball and in basketball in general, it's hard to expect 100% performance from the free throw line from a team. BYU Fortre, our good friend Playoff Bogey, Dallin Hall is an elite point guard. He showed that man some respect, as he says. BYU will be fine in the Big 12. When BYU shoots their averages, they are going to be hard to beat. And I agree with that final point from Playoff Bogey. When they shoot their averages, when they shoot the three at a high clip, and obviously you're sharing the basketball, getting those assist numbers up, keeping the turnovers low, that's going to help BYU be in every single game seemingly. And it doesn't matter the opponent. You've got to do that. But obviously there are going to be teams that are going to key on things. And one thing I will point to is I watched Dallin Hall very closely in this game. It's something I've noticed over the past couple of games, but he got away with it in this game against Iowa State. But watch him. He's very much a right-hand dominant player. He struggles at times going to his left with his left hand. That is something that Big 12 teams, if Jake Hatch, as an amateur analyst and talking with other people who know far more than me in basketball, pointed out and say that, hey, watch that left hand for Dallin Hall. You can imagine what Big 12 teams will start keying on as they get more of a scout on him, but keep an eye on that. Wayne, our good friend Cusco Boy, says the win versus UCF on the road was a huge confidence booster for the Cougars. They do belong, and it's not just at home versus Bellarmine. They played this game without Knell and Foose, as well as Baker. Dawson Baker out for the season, it appears, with a foot injury that's going to require surgery once again, and made an indelible statement. Indelible. That's a great word, Wayne. Well done. Go Cougs. Yeah, Wayne, good stuff. Absolutely. Really, really impressive stuff. The nice part is BYU now has a 2-game win streak, momentum on their side as they head to Texas Tech on Saturday. A big opportunity there. And the final two comments we'll get a reward here include Mark Dalton Dunn. It says, Noah resurrected. He was resurrected. It was good to see him get back and really show something for BYU. And then the final point here, Brendan Smith at Top Gun Brendan, we belong. Speaking of BYU, and I agree, BYU showed that they do belong in the Big 12, and sitting at 2-2, they're right back in the thick of things for the BYU football. I keep saying BYU football, BYU basketball program when it comes to Big 12 play. And like I said, they'll carry that momentum into a matchup against Texas Tech that we will preview later on this week as they get ready for a 4 o'clock tip down there in Lubbock on Saturday afternoon.